This is Henry Chamberlain, and today I'll be speaking with Anna Haifisch. She's one of our great artist-cartoonists. It was my pleasure to review for the Comix Journal her latest book, Shoppie. So we'll be discussing Shoppie and comics and how they intertwine with the art world. Thank you so much for doing this this interview, Anna.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I wanted to start by oh, and it's a one-man show, so I have to make sure where I'm at. I've got all these little marks to help me out. Well, I wanted to ask you genuinely. I was curious, what does Shoppie mean? Who is Shoppie?
That's a brand of dog food. I thought it was French, but I think it's actually German, and it's spelled a bit differently. It's actually Schappi, I think, like Chappi. But I really like the word. I just like the sound of it, and for some reason, I like the book to have a title that's not so easy to decipher. You know, like
Yeah,
like nonsensical a little bit. I don't know why actually, but something about it like sounded appealing to me.
well, I guess that's the same with Chez Schnabel. What does Schnabel refer to?
That means beak, and it's actually, yeah, it's a weird mix of French, you know, the chez, like for restaurants, and then the beak. So it's more like maybe that's even easier to decipher, because that's like kind of like an invitation into my studio or into my work practice.
Oh, it's perfect. I was thinking of Julian Schnabel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real word in Germany. It's part of the bird, and I draw birds a lot, so the beak. And I like the word Schnabel as well. It's for some reason it's a good word.
It is. Let me see if I can go high tech on us for a little bit. Here's the actual book, and I just wanted to leaf through it a little bit. And well, the showpiece is this international group of dignitaries, and the alligator, the crocodile. I get them confused sometimes. The crocodile and the snake.
I'm not so sure what the difference is either. So I would say crocodile. Because he comes from the Nile, so it must be a crocodile.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I just love this story. I love it to death, and I've looked through it so many times, and it still has a mystery to it, a beauty to it. I can't stop enjoying it. I mean, I'm not going to tire of it. What would you say to those qualities? I'm sure you refine it, or what can you tell us about how you came about this book?
I mean, this story in particular, there was this huge G20 summit in 2017 in Hamburg, and I only saw it on the news because I live in Leipzig, Germany, but it was like all these street riots, like smashing Hamburg to the grounds, and then at the same point you have all these like heads of states, like whatever, like weird, I don't know, sheikhs or kings, or whatever, like they all met in this beautiful castle or whatever that was, and like discussed the problems of the world, like without solving them, obviously. And I thought like the difference of the media images, like they were so, I mean, almost comical. I mean, if it wouldn't be so sad. But also, I mean, this story in particular, I think it's for everybody to see. It's a homage to Barber, you know, like the elephant stories by Jean de Brunhoff. So I love his work to death, and always thought it would be nice, like to make a children's book, but I never really got a good story ready. But I like the children's bookish look or feel of this story, with all the politicians meeting up and screwing up.
Yeah. So I can't help but notice that you're like in a lab or schoolhouse backdrop. That's your artist residency. Is there anything you could share about your current situation?
Oh yeah, I can do that. Right now I'm sitting in a really beautiful artist residency in the Palisades in LA. And it's the former house of Leon Feuchtwanger, a Jewish author who had to exile from Nazi Germany. and him and his wife Marta, they got here and bought this house for now $9,000, which I mean sounds not so expensive, but back in the day it was like a teacher's salary, I think, like a yearly teacher's salary. So yeah, they got here and they kind of renovated it, and then they had all these guests here, like Thomas Mann, like I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but also a writer from Germany who had to exile. Einstein was here,
Oh, wow.
Schoenberg was here, and currently I'm sitting in the office. That's my temporary studio right now. The office of Franz Werfel, also a German writer. So yeah, that was kind of like, this house was kind of like a hub for all of the exiled people who had to flee. And Germany at some point kind of bought it back or rented it back. I think it still technically belongs to the USC, the University of California. But yeah, so like Leon Feuchtwanger kind of put it in his will that they have to do something cultural here. And for some reason, like it ended up to be an artist residency where they invite German artists over for 3 months, and then we can do whatever we want.
That's wonderful. Well, I have like a small collection of your books. I don't have everything, but I did the best I could. I've got von Spatz, which is amazing. And then talking about artist residencies, Mouse in Residence, which is lovely. And then we have the 2 collected artists from Breakdown Press. And then I wanted to just go over here to Chez Schnabel. And this might be a great opportunity to discuss the art process along with the whole idea of displaying art or comics in traditionally what would be a space for paintings. Although you would think the walls are breaking down, but I noticed that in the interview session here, they even discussed that your work is a novelty, among other things. They don't dismiss it, of course, but they say for them, maybe I'm misreading, but it seems like it's still a novelty to have comics in a museum.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the same in the US. I mean,
yes,
if it's not Chris Ware or maybe Robert Crumb, I think it's very rare that you would see drawings and comics in museums a whole lot, like contemporary stuff. So yeah, that was a bit of a novelty, and I got this opportunity in Leipzig to show the work at the Museum of, how do you call it, maybe modern art. And yeah, for me it was a challenge because I always think in spreads, and I always think flat. I never think in space and in terms of rooms. So I thought, oh, that is a bit, it's a bit hard to do. And I'm still a bit hesitant about doing that kind of stuff. But this exhibition came with the opportunity to make a catalog. And of course, I mean, making books, that's my favorite thing to do. And yeah, I try to do a mix of like trying to show an exhibition in a book, which is also always a challenge, and also showing contents of books in an exhibition. I mean, yeah, it's just like the way I think and the way I draw. It's always the layout of the page or even the spread. So yeah, I mean, in this book, I teamed up with a dear friend of mine and a fantastic graphic designer, Anja Kaiser. And yeah, we thought a lot about how to make a book about work, like kind of like a making of.
yeah.
And without it being pretentious, you know, I'm not 60 years old and I cannot look back on a big, like lifelong body of work. But I can look back into like a little bit of an archive. And also what I always enjoy when I look at comic shows, I always love to see the sketches or like the making of or like the weird notes or even the whiteout. Like I'm looking for the corrections and stuff. I mean, also to reassure myself that other people are also struggling sometimes to draw stuff right.
Oh,
So yeah, this
absolutely.
book is a bit of a, I don't know, yeah, it's a bit of a cooking pot, I would say. Like I'm not serving the dish like with the regular comic books I do. This is more like I show you while I cook or something.
Well, my head goes off to this particular format, and the fact that there's text, there's an explanatory text. There's a wonderful foreword by I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Anki Dai.
Yeah, Anke Düß,
Anki
we would say
Dus.
in Germany, but I call her Dr. Dice.
Well, I hate it when there's a catalog with no words, and I will not name names, but there, whenever there's a catalog with no words, that is just infuriating because it makes you wonder, well, does this art not deserve an explanation of some kind or some kind of are you trying to pull a fast one on us, folks? But oh gosh, it hurts when I go off my script because then I can't remember. I lose my place. But I love this. I get my place back pretty quickly too. So this is showing you in a zoo with your mom, I believe. It's giving a look into well, I guess the origins of your some of your characters, like in the
Mhm.
artist, your love of animals, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think this is maybe my very first like autobiographical short story. Um, yeah, I like to look back and inward for this book in particular because I mean it was right like in the middle of like the COVID times, you know, where like you can't really look forward, you don't know what the world is turning into, or like you can't really make plans at that point. And so I thought, well, maybe it's a good point to look backwards, you know, like a little bit and inwards maybe. So yeah, I thought about just like how maybe the like going to the zoo so often as a child like kind of really formed my I don't know, I mean, I don't want to use these huge words because I was like, I don't know, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
But like it kind of formed my, I think, way of looking and maybe my fascination with animals and animal characters. So yeah, I mean, it's when I drew the story, I thought maybe it's pretty accurate actually. I think that's where it all stems from.
Oh, I'm just going to jump to some of my questions that I wanted to ask for sure, and I don't want to forget to ask. I'm going to ask you right now. The Peabody Hotel. Now, talking about art spaces, now that's quite a novel space. The Peabody. I did a little research. I love the duck parade that happens on the weekend. How did that come about? You're partnering up with the Peabody.
Yeah, you got me there. I mean, I'm a liar. I've never been there, you know, but
Oh, okay.
I always found the idea of I mean having ducks almost rule a whole hotel pretty fascinating. And I mean, whoever doesn't know about the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, like I think the owner like ducks so much that he built a huge duck voliere on the roof, and then every day I think at least once a day, like the ducks are allowed to come down with the elevator and they get the red carpet, and then they go to this little fountain in the middle of the lobby, and it's a spectacle, and also it's an homage and yeah, honoring the ducks. And I
Yeah.
thought it's extremely cute, first of all, and second of all, it's extremely comical. And when I looked at all these images and like small YouTube videos or TikToks of people, I mean, I find it amusing. I just thought, like the thing is like the text that's accompanied with those drawings. I don't know if I like this interview. It's not with me. It's like between two other people,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure what to do with it. I thought maybe it's cool to illustrate it, but then at the same time, I felt like maybe I feel like the duck, you know, in this interview, like being brought down with the elevator. And
Oh yeah, I think it works really well. So, yeah, the interview is definitely the dignitaries discussing your work.
I
So
mean,
so
it's
why not
definitely
lighten it up
cool,
with
but
ducks?
it's just a bit weird. If I mean, I kind of had to include it. That was a bit part of the contract, but it's kind of weird when other people talk about your art, you know, and you're not involved in a way. And I mean, it's not like an essay or something. I totally accept reviews and essays. I think that's all perfect, but I don't know. It's just felt a bit strange.
Yeah, well, I love all kinds of extra data, any extra facts, whatever. It's always nice to have that, and I love some of the comments that Anki makes. I'm going to lose my place again as I try to find him. Well, she talks about the artist becoming more important than the art at times. That's where we're at these days. That the artist is is like taking center stage. That's one of her points in her essay, and that the artist and art are intertwined, and the artist must accept their limitations. Do you agree with those statements? That
Yeah, I think, I mean, like the old artist myth is kind of thrown out the window, where like the artist is allowed to disappear for, I don't know, 1, 2, even 3 years, and then returns with like some kind of masterpiece or something. I mean, like drawing a comic book, for example, usually takes like at least a year, I would say. But I think nowadays you're not really allowed to really hide and fuck off. You have to constantly kind of be present for stuff here and there. And I mean, I don't mean like being present like in terms of like going to comic festivals, because that's fun. I mean, that's
yeah,
part of the big like great things. But I'm talking more maybe about like maybe documenting your work, maybe being on social media a little bit. And I think there are very few comic artists who get around it and are still extremely great. Like I think the only one I can really think of is Nick Donazo, who drew Sabrina and acting class very recently. He's basically, I think he's nowhere to be found on social media, so
oh,
he can
good for him.
definitely disappear completely.
Well, I don't recognize that name. Who is that?
Nick Donazo.
Nick Tanasso. I'll have to look him up.
Like he's from Chicago. He drew Beverly and then Sabrina. That book was nominated for the Man Booker Prize in the UK, which was pretty epic because it was the very first graphic novel ever to be nominated, I think, for such a big prize. And rightfully so. And yeah, his newest book is Acting Class, which is also damn great.
Yes, I think I may even have a copy. I have a copy of so many books, and I can be horribly ignorant or absent-minded at times. But I love Mouse in Residence just to move along. It's such a delightful book, and it's so easygoing. Glare of the light's not going to do it justice. I think I might have to give up. Well, if I try hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, this looks better. But yeah, I mean, the whole aesthetic of the book is, I mean, it's basically very sketchy.
Yeah.
I drew this is I mean, the comic book I think maybe I like the most, like of mine, because I drew it in the span of 3 months, and then I thought I would ink it all and then maybe color it, but at some point I thought, man, maybe not, because I really like the raw look of the scratchy pencil lines. So
yeah,
I stopped at that point, and I'm not unhappy with it.
Well, it used to be that everything had to be inked, but now with how things have upgraded, you can just go with a pencil and you're fine.
Oh yeah, you cut out there for a moment. Maybe it was my internet or yours, but I didn't hear, I think, the last.
Oh, I'm just saying that with the tech today, you can just do pencil and you're fine. You can get away with just doing pencil if you choose pencil.
The screen, it froze again. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I mean, it froze again. I don't know what it is, but
Oh, I will either edit that out if necessary, or we'll figure that out.
I don't mind.
There was one comment in Mouse in Residence, which I find hilarious. You say that, I want to get this right, comics is a behavioral disorder. Is there anything you'd want to add to that? That is kind of an accurate description.
I think, I mean, in a way, it must be a little bit because of all the repetition in the work. I mean, drawing things over and over and over again is a bit nuts, I feel. Like the same character or the same settings or the same objects. I mean, you must be a bit, I don't know, like a bit nuts to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of cartoonists they're very meticulous, detail oriented, might be a little obsessive compulsive, but hey, if it works, you can't complain.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with it. I mean, people get maybe nowadays a bit sensitive with words like disorder or something, but I mean it. it must be something in the range of that.
Now, this work you've seen a million times. That I'm sure you'd say, okay, the artist, I've been there, I've done that. But a lot of people will know your work from the artist appearing in Vice. And it is, looking back on it, it is just so beautifully edited, refined down to its essence. Is there anything you could say about that process of refining things down to their essence?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that was the very first time I was on such a strict time schedule, because I think it was, if I remember it right, every Monday, like New York time, where I had to deliver a new episode. So that helped me a lot to really structure the little short stories and to cut them down to its essence or core. I mean, as much as I tried.
Yeah.
But I think it was really like the time struggle that helped out with that, because I mean, that doesn't allow myself to go back and like overwork certain stuff. Like once it's written and then once it's drawn, it was almost out of the email box and already at the editor's computer. So there was no chance actually to go into like great detail or like to correct everything I thought was maybe a bit rocky or something.
So I think when you're creating something like this, you must be thinking of some of your heroes and our heroes, like Charles Schulz.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, like with that work, it allows me a lot to draw homages as well. Like, I mean, I don't mind if the readers don't recognize I mean, the things I kind of hide in there. So, but it's just for myself. It's a big joy that I can include like the works of the people I really like, or like even the people themselves, like in little cameos or stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just like the little joys of a comic artist or cartoonist to do that. Like, it's like you sit at your desk and giggle at yourself or something.
Yeah.
Speaking of disorders.
I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but there's a moment where the main character is hanging out with Owl, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah. Owl from Simon Hanselmann's MdbK and Owl. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, here he
It,
is.
it's a, oh, Owl. Yeah, Owl is a nurse there, and then there's also like they meet at the party, and then they are. I think there is a very awkward interaction because they're both birds, and then the artist asks Owl what shampoo he's using.
I know.
And that's it. I mean, it's terribly awkward and
It's
yeah,
herbal essence.
Yeah, it's herbal essences.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Okay, I need to ask you about Simon Hanselmann. You've been on a book tour with him. What's it like
not
hanging out
really
with
a
him?
tour, but I mean, he's also living in LA now, or like in the greater LA area, and I was really happy to learn that that he moved from Seattle, like him and his wife Jack Cohen and the little kid, and so yeah, now we can get to see each other pretty much every week, which is really nice.
That is great. He's a sweetheart. I've met him and
Yeah,
wonderful
absolutely. I mean, yeah, we were invited, like me and another fellow here, Felix Kubin, a musician, to their house for Thanksgiving, and even Jack's family, and I mean that was damn amazing. So yeah, no, I have nothing but wonderful things to say, and of course I love his work, and I think we are contemporaries. We started out, I think, on Vice at the same time, and yeah, I think there are a bunch of similarities. We're about the same age and like grew up with the same stuff and admired the same things. And yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities.
of course, and it'll be fascinating to see how your careers progress and how you interact with the art world, because both of you share the fact that you've both had art shows in museums. He had one at the Bellevue Art Museum,
Yeah.
which was quite a thing. And of course, your show, which maybe I should mention. So in your case, you won the LVZ Art Prize, and that led to the show at MdbK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's quite new that comics, at least in Germany, and maybe in the US a little bit as well, kind of reach out of the dirt corner. So I mean, I don't mind the dirt corner at all. I love it actually, and the comic fest. But it's cool that some art institutions like find it quite interesting. And I mean, I'm still surprised, like winning that art prize and having a show in a museum, and also like being here in this artist residency. Like 10 years ago, like nobody would have touched comics with pliers, you know. They would have been like, ew, what's this? Like, it's not literature, it's not fine art, so and it's dirt, you know, like filth for children or something. So that has changed a little bit in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years. And I think Simon and I are really happy and lucky about it, because that also means that sometimes when you sell an original, it's not like 25 bucks anymore or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's an awkward situation, but also exciting, because things are going to be progressing steadily from now on. And I would just say, I would say about comics that they're ideal for a museum setting, because they allow themselves to be represented in many ways. You can have the original art, you can blow up the art on the wall. It looks great. It's meant to be blown up. You can create a book like you have for Chez Schnabel, a book about a book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like tailor made for gallery and museum
Yeah,
showing.
I always wonder what they want from me in particular, because I mean, with the character, the artist, of course, they kind of see something in that, like whether it's art critique or I don't know, some kind of CI, like kind of design leading through their museum, like as a little system, you know, where the toilets are even, you know, this kind of stuff. I mean, it ranges from a lot of things that these the curators who are in charge like thinking of, and like their agenda. And I always find it interesting, and mostly I go along with it, but because I find it amusing, like because my work is about the artwork. I don't like it so much when I'm in the spotlight, but I love to witness all of it, like standing in the corner and taking notes. And also with the whole process of working with the museum, I mean, that was, I think, probably 100 artist episodes in a couple of weeks, like whatever I witnessed there. I have to wait a little bit, I think, until um, I write and draw them. But
Well, I wanted to kind of finish things out with von Spatz, which I find really just so fascinating, that you bring up the scenario of Disney, Tommy Unger, and Steinberg together, but you don't dwell on it. It's so interesting how you put in just what you need, and that's enough. It leaves the reader wanting more, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, yeah, I included 3 of my drawing heroes in that book. And I mean, officially, Tove Jansson, like the woman who drew the Moomins, should have also be included, but it felt too close to home. Because I'm making also like a little bit of fun of the 3 of them, how helpless they are in certain ways. And I thought, like, Tove Jansson, like, she's a goddess. Like I cannot make fun of her or something. But yeah, the 3 of them, I mean, they are heroes like from different times of my life. Like Tommy Ungerer, I kind of grew up with him, and then Walt Disney. I mean, every child on the planet, I think, grew up with his movies or his merch.
Yeah.
And Saul Steinberg was somebody I got to know when I was studying art, like kind of late, when I was like, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. So yeah, I mean, it was a book that I mean, it's my very first book, I like long form comic book I ever drew. And yeah, I still like it, and I see it. I mean, now that it's like almost, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I see the flaws in every corner. But at the same time, I think, I mean, it is a bit strange, and I don't know if it's hard to read for some people, but yeah, I like the wildness in it in some way. Like the radical cuts in the story, and sometimes I don't know what I was thinking actually, but that's a good thing actually.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me switch back to me. And oh my goodness, I'm sure I'm missing some questions, but that might be a good place to wrap things up. Is there something you might want to share with us that I missed?
No, I think I mean, first of all, it's great that you got all the books, especially the Chez Schnabel and Mouse in Residence to the US, because right now it's such a drag to get books from Europe and vice versa.
Well,
And no,
it
I think
was Spectre books came through. My
cool.
hats off to them.
Oh yeah, cool, nice. Yeah, because I mean, it's problematic right now, but I think you covered pretty much everything. And yeah.
I like that toy shark in the background. There's a
Yeah, it was in here. Like it's not even mine, but when I came into this villa, I mean it's really a huge house in the Pacific Palisades, really old time with 14 rooms, and nobody wanted to work in this studio here. There are like 6 other fellows, and I came in here and I saw the shark in here because my last name it translates to shark. Haifisch is shark, and I thought, wow, maybe that's a sign, I guess.
yeah,
And also, it's a beautiful object. I mean,
it is not a
maybe
toy.
another fellow left it here, or Leon and Martha Feuchtmann. Who knows?
Well, thank you so much, Anna, for sharing some time with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for making it happen and being so well prepared.
Thank you.